You're listening to the LPs in a podcast. In today's review, we're going to be speaking about our love of Rush, our experience in going to see the film in the cinema, but also we're going to be doing the review itself. If you'd rather just hear our review, please skip to the 13-minute mark and enjoy. Thank you for listening. Hello. My name's
Hello.
Val. Oh, fuck. I fucked it up.
My name's Eddie.
My name is Val.
Your name is Val.
Fuck it, let's keep this. You're listening to the LPs in a podcast. What were we reviewing today, Eddie?
Today we're going to be reviewing the film, the Rush Cinema Concert, Cinema
Strangiato?
Strangiato, yes. Can we have English names for English-speaking films?
Oh, it's because it's British, mate. It's British, that's why. So, yeah.
French-Canadian.
French-Canadian, there you go. Today we're going to be reviewing our first ever concert video review for Cinema Strangiato, the director's cut. If you guys don't know what this is, essentially Rush, who are our favourite bands, clearly. Rash. This is our favourite band. I think it's very safe to say that it's our favourite band. Cinema Strangiato was released in 2019. However, very recently, on September the 9th, 2001, Rush released the director's cut for a one-day only screening worldwide. I saw this in the Duke of York Picture House in Brighton. Fantastic independent cinema. Where did you see it, dude?
I saw it in the Sheringham Cinema in Sheffield, South Yorkshire. Another great independent cinema that's been around for a long time. And definitely a good place for independent cinema and unusual things like these kind of concert films.
Certainly. I've been to the showroom before. Obviously, we both grew up in Sheffield. Obviously, we couldn't be together for this one, unfortunately. But shout out to the Duke of York Picture House in Brighton and to the Showroom Cinema in Sheffield as well. Both are fantastic independent cinemas. If you want to see independent film in good screenings and good settings as well, certainly must. There's certainly places that you must go to for independent cinema. Let's jump into it. I'm going to say immediately, this gets 10p's out of a pod for me. This is a 10 out of 10 concert film with interviews. What are your thoughts?
I definitely glad I went to go see it. My cinema experience was good, not brilliant. There was certain kind of guitar notes very early on in the screening that felt a little bit off, but other than that, it was a great concert.
In what way?
There was something kind of in the higher range of Alex's playing just didn't sound right, and I wasn't quite sure. I could not pinpoint it, but that was only very early on. You kind of get used to it as the songs kept going. But
is that more to do with the cinema or the actual film though? Because I
definitely think the cinema. Every setup is different for each in different screenings, so I imagine people have different experiences, especially like, you know, how important sound is for these kind of events. Yeah,
sure. I mean, yeah, of course that's going to be the case with different cinemas. For me, on the night, I was finishing up from work, and then I was like, right, I'm going to go and do my Rush thing now, because she kind of likes Rush. Like, it's the whole girls liking Rush thing. I was like, look, I'm going to go do my Rush thing now. I'm going to go hang out with a bunch of guys that are my age or older, and I'm just going to go and watch this thing. We never got to see the R40 tour in Europe. For reasons we'll come on to shortly, but I got there. I was wearing my Snakes and Arrows tour t-shirt. Got drinking and chatting with a few guys. Although I must say there were a few girls there as well, so that count of 49 upwards, which we'll come on to in a bit, it makes a little more sense. And it was cool. It felt like I was going to see the next best thing to a Rush gig. I think it's also worth mentioning as well that, and it's actually, I should say first of all, there are spoilers ahead. So if you haven't seen this yet and you don't want to get any spoilers, maybe watch it soon. But
no rush.
Fucking hell, that was bad. It's the film opens up with the screen with the picture of Neil Peart, and it says Neil Elwood Peart, and gives his birth year and death year. What was surprising to me is that there was a guy sat a few seats away from me, which I'll come on to this guy in a second, but when it came up, he stood up and he started clapping. And anyone who knows that I play drums knows that Neil Peart is my all-time favorite drummer. The whole cinema stood up and started clapping. I don't know if that happened for you, but
it didn't. No,
it was just this moment of respect for this guy. Obviously, for those of you who don't know, Neil Peart died. It was last year, if I remember rightly. And it was just, it was this weird but strangely awe-inspiring moment of just people just paying respect to this guy. How was it for you though? I never asked after.
It was great. Yeah, seeing big gangs of people in Rush shirts, and it felt queuing outside felt like queuing outside the arena. A very small feeling of it, but it gave me feelings back of the Time Machine tour and Clockwork Angels, and kind of like it was a bittersweet feeling. Kind of, I wish I could have it been another experience again, but yeah, like you said, it's the next best thing, or that we can actually get.
So you went with your girlfriend Emily, like?
I went with Emily.
How did she find it as well?
Yeah. She's been slowly being introduced to Rush, and I've got a lot of the albums, so she's becoming a fan. She's also listening to bands like Marilyn and Yes. So she's going deeper into the prog hemisphere than I thought she would. So I'm very proud of her.
Did I ever tell you that Yes followed me on Twitter?
No, you didn't tell me that.
You know what? It was, I can't remember how many years ago, but randomly I got a Twitter notification and it says Yes Official is started following you. And I was like, why the fuck are these guys following me? Because I'm nobody. But yeah, it's still to this day, from what I could tell. I actually looked at this before we started recording, but apparently Yes Official follows me on Twitter, and I don't know why.
Nice.
Because I know
neither.
I know of Yes, and I like their stuff, but I've never deep dived into them. And yeah, but they follow me for some reason. I don't know why. So if anyone from Yes can answer that question, please tell me.
I'm a kind of casual Yes fan. I lose a lot of people when I tell them that Union's my favorite album, because a lot of people hate that album. But I like it.
Do you ever get that feeling though, where it's like often a band's worst album is the one that you like and nobody else does?
I suppose so. Roll the Bones got me into Rush, because you were constantly showing me Snakes and Arrows. Because it came out the year before.
That's because I got into Rush because a family member of mine showed me. So I started getting into drums at like 13, and a family member of mine showed me. Basically said, look, if you want to know a good drummer, watch this guy. And it was a tour footage from R30 Rush in Rio. I might have just mixed up a few things, but it was Rush in Rio that I saw for the first time, and it was Neil Peart's drum solo from Rush in Rio. And I remember watching, yeah, of course. And I remember watching that footage. It's like a 9-minute drum solo, and I remember looking at that guy thinking, "That's what I want to I need to do that. I need to fucking. That's what I want to be. That's what I want to do." And that's why Neil Peart is God to me, because I saw that as a 13-year-old and went, ooh, that's what I want to do, and that's what really got me into learning drums. And every solo he's done since has spurred that on. But I forgot what the question was or where we were going with it.
It's how we started. You constantly recommending Snakes and Arrows.
So I recommend Snakes and Arrows because the first Rush gig I ever went to was their 2007 Snakes and Arrows tour, and the album had come out
that year.
That was an entry to Rush for me, aside from watching previous tours. So yeah, I think I recommended that to you, and I think that's how you got into.
Yeah, and I liked the stuff, but it wasn't until I started watching the Roll the Bones music video, and there's something about that song. It just clicked, and it was like, I love this group, like the groove, the tongue-in-cheek attitude. I know it's just a charming like pop song. And I love it. It works so well.
That's funny because I never really got into that album until you got into them, and then you started talking about Roll the Bones. I think it's because I probably went in with more later stuff, and then Moving Pictures and Permanent Waves and even 2112. But you were like, oh, I love this album, Roll the Bones, and I think I remember thinking, really? Well, I'm not really into that, but it got me into it with you getting into it as well.
Although it changed when I saw Stick It Out live.
What's Stick It Out?
Stick It Out's from Counterparts.
Oh yeah, God, fucking hell! It's probably if any Rush fans listen to this, are probably thinking, "What do you mean?"
I gave that a deep dive because that was one of the albums I avoided for some reason, and I love that's my favorite one just because from the album cover to all the stuff in between, it's a weird one, but it's great. And they didn't play anything. They played Animate Me.
Yes,
so I was glad to hear that.
Yes, and I'm going to come on to that in a bit, but I think I know it was said quite often in Beyond the Lighter Stage, the documentary on Rush, that there's different eras of Rush. Some people are into certain things, some people are not. I think that's fine. But
we've got 20 studio albums. There's so much you can dive into, and even if that gets old, you can move on. So
I thought it was. I thought it was more than 20, dude. Surely
it's 20. Yeah, it's 20 studio albums if you count Feedback, which is like a covers EP. It's 20 studio albums. I'm pretty sure it is.
Really? All right. I've got to. No, it's 19 studio albums.
Yeah,
so that
Feedback
that
should
one doesn't
count.
count. That one doesn't count.
It does. It should count.
I'm trying to inch one in on us there, mate.
They went to a studio and recorded it.
Doesn't make it a studio album though, dude.
It's a studio EP. I don't know. I still think it should. It rounds it to a nice 20.
I'll let you off. Cool. Let's get into this review because there's probably some people listening to this thinking, where the fuck's the review, dude? Like, let me know what it's like. What's your initial thoughts?
It was great. It definitely felt like the whole setup was really interesting. The fact it starts with their newer stuff and gradually goes back through their back catalogue. I thought that was a really great visual way to celebrate the passage of time with this band and how far they've come and still stuck to their guns of playing how they want to play and make the music they wanted to make and still be one of the greatest bands of all time.
I'm glad you started with the passage of time thing because I'm not the most observant person, but I noticed halfway through. Actually, it was the first time they started changing the amps behind them. I realized that, and again, spoilers if you haven't guessed already, but they start with the stuff from Clockwork Angels and they end with the self-titled album Rush. So they go back in time. I think it was a beautiful touch with the concert of the fact that they started stripping back the backline. So you started with the big amps and the fancy schmancy stuff, and then over time, the stagehands come on and they change it back. They stripped it back to like Marshall amps for Alex and Ampeg amps for Geddy at some point. And by the end of the show, when they're playing the stuff from the first album, that it's literally just a tiny little amp with a microphone draped over it.
Yeah, on chairs.
Yeah, on chairs. But also, and again, this is me being a drummer. For me, it was also for with Neil switching over to his classic kit from the modern kit, because his classic kit has the toms around the front. They have the bells for Jesus, close to the heart. He has the tubular bells behind him with the ding, 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 ding. And also there is a funny story with that particular kit, which I might share in a bit. But
okay,
it was interesting having that theme throughout the concert of every time they work back an era, they strip back to what they had in that era. And I think it was a wonderful, joyous celebration of each of those eras that they play within the concert, if you see what I mean.
I know Geddy got to show off his bass collection a little bit with this time, rather than sticking to his jazz bass.
And they brought
really
out
tasty looking things.
They brought out the double necks as well.
Oh yeah.
I saw the double necks and like I stood up in my seat and I was like, yes! Like,
God, I bet the necks were sore after that. Those things are heavy.
Yeah, but I mean, if anyone's going to do it, it's Rush, right?
Oh yeah. So there's a photo that's iconic of them playing those instruments.
Yeah, I think it's a good time to mention as well. So obviously, some of you may have seen the original Cinema Strangiato in 2019. The director's cut set list, I think we should mention, is slightly different to that. And if you've been on the R40 tour as well, it's definitely different. So what we saw was that the concert started with The Anarchist from Clockwork Angels, Headlong Flight, same album. Then it had One Little Victory, Animate, Roll the Bones, Between the Wheels, Losing It, Subdivisions, Tom Sawyer, Red Barchetta, Spirit of Radio, Hemispheres Prelude, Cygnus X1, The Story So Far, The Story So Far drum solo, which is Neil's final recorded drum solo. And then it went on to Closer to the Heart, Xanadu, 2112, Lakeside Park, which kind of segues into Anthem, and then What You Were Doing, and then Working Man. So if you want to know the set list for the director's cut, that's where it is.
I had a correction though. You missed Jacob's Ladder for the warm up at the beginning of the concert.
Yeah. So at the beginning of the concert, they show the sound check footage, don't they, when they're doing Jacob's Ladder? I don't know if that was played on R40. I haven't really looked too much into it.
No, that was definitely an addition.
Okay.
To it, but and also what was the improv song in the credits from Alex? He improvised an alternative version of a song, but I can't remember which one it was.
You know what? By this point, I admit I was a little bit drunk, and I'll tell you why in a bit.
Okay. You were drinking?
Well, but I was... Fuck off. I'll tell you why in a bit. But yeah, I kind of forget that bit a little bit. Although I do have a funny story. Actually, you know what? I might as well just fucking tell you now.
Go on.
So, in the middle of the film... So, to anyone listening, the film is... It has these little breaks in the concert film where they do interviews with people, but also they have these little skits. Like, if anyone's seen Rush on tour, on Clockwork Angels, so they have those little dwarves, and they're all playing the little dwarves, and also On one
They're
little
kind of like the Oompa Loompas working in a factory.
yeah, for the watchmaker, right? And also they on one little victory, all of the as it's been for many years on Rush Swords, they have the dragon with all the flames. But they announced you know that bit where they announced the interlude. So you're thinking, oh, I get to go to the toilet and have a piss or have a smoke or have a drink or whatever, but it carried on playing with those three little dwarves, just like I think they were dancing about or something.
They're playing Tom Sawyer, aren't they?
Yeah, they're playing Tom Sawyer. So, but it was like it's a 3 minute. It says it's a 3 minute interlude. It was 2.5 fucking minutes into that interlude. I realized that was the fucking interlude. I was just sat there watching them, going, "This is funny," and then it was like, oh shit, this is actually the interlude. So I had to run to the toilet because I was busting for a fucking piss. And then, like, by the time I got back, I was halfway through Closer to the Heart, and I was like, no! Oh man!
You always go before a concert. Always go before.
No, I did go before, but I was drinking, and that, you know what? I'm just gonna fucking tell the story now. That I was on the balcony at the Duke of York Theatre, and there was a guy to my right, and there was a guy on the road behind me. And the guy on the right, his name was Paul. He introduced himself. Before the film, we were talking about Rush, as you do. And then halfway through the first act, if you will, he comes up and he goes, "Can I sit next to you?" I was like, "Yeah, sure, dude, go for it." Like, I just went, fair warning though, I am air drumming a lot. You're just gonna have to deal with that. He's like, "Yeah, fuck it, go for it." And the guy behind us, like, he said, "Oh, do you want to join us as well?" This guy was like, "Nah, I want to sell my own." It's like, "That's cool." And he's like, "Do you want a beer?" I was like, "Yeah, go on then." Which explains why I was drinking so much.
Someone was buying.
And I'm sat there just like through Tom Sawyer, just going like, you know, just going mental, like air drumming and. But it explains why I drank so much, because this guy just kept going, "Do you want another beer?" I was like, "You sure, dude?" Because I'm fucking skinned, and he's like, "No, it's a rush gig. Go on." And I was like, "All right."
No, I wanted to be boring and sober throughout the whole thing, but I don't know. This like my favorite bits were like just hearing Geddy's bass on Red Barchetta and stuff.
Yes, for sure.
So good on that song.
And also for me, it was I love how with 2112, obviously they play the first bit of 2112, but then they kind of made a medley of all of the heavy bits.
Yeah, they've always done that for a while now.
You see, they haven't done that on tours that we've seen together though.
Oh no, but they'll never play 2112 in full like they used to.
I'd be interested to find out what was your favorite part of the film though.
Definitely Losing It, because that's one of my like favorite songs by Rush. It's such an emotionally moving song, and the meaning behind it is like really profound, especially from a creator's perspective and the fear of aging and not having that skill that you've honed and crafted for so long. And it feels very personal, and also because of the also talking to the violinist, who I wish I could remember his name, about him joining.
I've got his name here. It is. Oh no, I don't. It's Jonathan. Oh, that's such a shame. That's really shitty because
he was part of the orchestra for. He was part of the
Angels,
orchestra for
yeah.
Clockworks, so that was really cool. Although, come to think about it, I was really glad that Clockworks was our kind of last gig, because it was the orchestra that played for them was amazing. I think that's the only time they've ever had musicians come play on stage with them. Yeah. Also including this Losing It. But yeah, Losing It, that was my favourite song, because I was gutted that I knew they were going to do that, and then not see it in the UK was kind of more salt in the wound.
Absolutely. It's Jonathan Dinklage, by the way. And I remember why I thought
he was really cool.
I remember thinking why I recognized the name, because in one of the cutscenes, I think we could talk about the cutscenes actually. In the cutscenes, you see the guys from Trailer Park Boys come up. The guys the guys who are in Paul Rudd and Jason Segel are in it as well, like they were in the tour video. But also, I noticed that Peter Dinklage from Game of Thrones was in there.
Yeah.
But
so that video was
when I heard Jonathan Dinklage, I was like, "Oh, they must be related," but they're not. To my knowledge, anyway.
That video was used on the Clockwork Angels tour, I think.
I don't remember it.
I remember seeing it on one of the other tours, but I don't remember which one.
Oh man, you got a better memory than I.
I like the fact that Paul Rudd and what's his face filmed it on like their Mac because they're using that mirror effect.
Yeah,
so just went into a room, recorded it on one of their Mac computers.
I do think it's a good time to talk about how I love how this concert film was interspersed with interviews with various people. So you had Billy Corgan in there. You had Jesus fucking Christ, Tom Morello. And I love the Tom Morello one because he talks about how he first met his wife. You remember that?
Oh yeah.
And he's talking about, I met her at this party and all this, and I'm talking about how I'm into Rush, and she goes, "Oh, I'm into Rush too." It's like a girl likes Rush, and then it brings up that little counter in the corner that goes, "Women who are into Rush, 49." And I laughed out loud at that. It was brilliant. But I think the interviews were a lovely touch to the film.
Absolutely.
I think one thing that stood out for me was Billy Corgan's edition, where I think it was towards the end of the film, and not to bring the tone down, but I think there's that bit where he says, if this is the point, they have given so much as a band to the world, if this is the point at which they decide to stop, then fair enough, because they have done more than enough. I am paraphrasing that quote, obviously, but I think that was quite bittersweet, knowing now that. I'm speculating, but obviously we know that Neil died of is a brain tumor or brain cancer.
I believe so. Yeah.
It's knowing that interview could have been filmed before anyone knew, and knowing what we know now. Billy Corgan's saying if they want to end it now, then they're more than welcome. It's their right to do so, but. I don't want to be distasteful, but it's. I can feel myself tearing up. That's really bad.
Yeah,
it's the fact that in hindsight, that's perhaps the reason why they had to, and that fair enough. I think any Rush fan would say absolutely. Fair enough.
Yeah.
But it was. I remember watching him say that with the quote, and it's like. It's not just them giving up. This is I'm not going to bring the tone down, but it's.
Oh yeah, no,
you understand what I'm saying.
I'd happily miss a Rush gig if it meant that he was, in excruciating pain. I'd much happier leave it with the Clockwork Angels in 2013.
Of course.
So it's perfectly understandable, and they've got a great legacy. So
yeah, of course.
I liked what I'm going to hash what Billy Corgan said about. How prog bands are usually about intellectual ideas, but Rush is more about heart.
Yes.
And I love that one because it is true. They definitely have there's no kind of feeling of superiority, even though they're like amazing players. They don't seem to have, they seem to be really humble. They don't seem to have massive inflated egos, even though they're constantly praised. And their skill and their craft,
and their message is the same. You look at the lyrics. It's I think in Beyond the Light Stage, I think it was Billy Corgan that said, they're for the everyman. They're not punching down at people. They're punching up. You can relate to this stuff.
Yeah,
it's not that showy, snooty I mean, you can put it in better words than I can, but it's not that showy, snooty. Yes, where the dog's bollocks and where really complicated it is. They are. Everyone can relate to them. I think let's take a break.
Right, so
and we'll be back with you in a moment. Here's a message from, I would say, our sponsors, but we're sponsoring ourselves. Here's a quick message
Something
before we
like that.
continue. This year in November, both me and Eddie are going to be taking part in Movember. If you don't know, the Movember Foundation aims to reduce the number of men dying prematurely by 25%. Mental health and suicide prevention, prostate cancer and testicular cancer, they're taking them all on. If you don't know, since 2003, Movember has founded more than 1,250 men's health projects around the world, challenging the status quo, shaking up men's health research, and transforming the way health services reach and support men. This year, we're both going to do it together. You can check out our progress on our Instagram and our Twitter, but if you feel as though you can spare a few quid for us, you can visit our page at movember.com/t/The Steel Cauldron. That's movember.com/t/The Steel Cauldron. All proceeds will go to the Movember Foundation. We greatly appreciate your support. What do you like about it and what didn't you like?
They definitely picked like really important songs from their back catalogue. I'm really glad they picked The Anarchist and Headlong Flight. That's like a song about their career in a sense.
Headlong Flight is my favourite track next to actually The Anarchist and The Garden on Clockwork Angels. And I've got to say, when it opened up and you heard that, I was like, yes!
Yeah, they're great. They're great energy builders.
Yeah.
Absolutely a great start.
And a Headlong Flight as well for me is that bit in the middle where you hear Neil just fucking on that snare, just like. I was like, oh, like I was like practically in tears. It was like, oh, it's just awesome.
Imagine you were the same when One Little Victory came up, because I thought that was one of your favorites from.
Oh, totally,
Vapor.
Absolutely. And you know, I still can't get that bass drum pattern down with a. He's like, oh, like I was three.
I can't
songs
get anything down.
I was in. It's not what I've heard.
Wow.
For the first 3 songs I was going fucking mental. And at this point this poor guy like wasn't sat next to me, so I just sat there going yes. But they got Anime in there, and then they did Roll the Bones, right?
Yeah, they're 2 of my favorites. Animate's a great song. Just that whole vibe and what they would. I love their 90s albums. They seem to like be changing it up, but sticking to their roots. I don't know. I don't know what other people think of the Rush 90s phase, but they're all good for me.
I think it's like I said, like, that everyone likes their own sort of different phases, right?
Absolutely, yeah. I'm gutted they didn't pick anything from Test for Echo, because that's like my. Well, it's never a guilty pleasure, but I do like that one. It's definitely like the strange album. But there's so much I love about it.
Yeah, and then we had Between the Wheels and Losing It. I'll admit these are part of the era that I don't know so much. I don't know what albums Between the Wheels and Losing It are part of.
Grace Under Pressure is Wheels.
Okay,
I do like that one, because that was when Geddy was more keyboards and synths. So Alex had to change how he was playing to kind of balance with the keys that Geddy was doing. And Alex does some great guitar work on that album. Like there's some really like underrated solos on that album that are great.
Losing It was the one with the violinist Jonathan Dinklage as well.
Oh yeah, it was great seeing that.
I love how they preluded that with a little almost like an interview with him, how he was on the Clockwork Angels tour as a violinist, and he was talking about how he got invited back to play this on the R40 tour, and like he was like, I'm paraphrasing. I don't know if he actually said it, but I think he was like, "Yeah, I don't really have the money to do it, but fuck it, I'm gonna go and do it. I'm gonna go and play with Rush. I'm gonna spend what I need to do. I'm gonna go there. There's no question about it, right? If Rush invites you to play with them on stage, you're gonna fucking do it. You're not. You're. It doesn't matter. You get it from somewhere."
Yeah, he was great,
and I think that was a wonderful little interview as well. He kind of told us a little bit more. Certainly, what I got from it is that he told us a little bit more about the people who were playing on the Clockwork Angels tour. And then
it's a poignant song to play.
Yeah, for sure. We then went into subdivisions: Tom Sawyer, Red Barchetta, Spirit of Radio. Wonderful bit of the concert for me. Red Barchetta is the first ever Rush song I ever properly heard, like in some cans. You know what I mean? So yeah, I just kind of went a bit mental on that part.
Oh yeah. Moving Pictures is I think their perfect album in terms of start to finish. Like, well, the flow of it.
This celebrates 40 years since Moving Pictures, didn't it? September 9th, when we saw the film. So I think that was a lovely little touch. I'm surprised, and I think it's worth mentioning, seeing as we're talking about moving pictures. I'm surprised that this concert film did not include YYZ. That's not to say I hate the fact that that's the case, but obviously every Rush gig, it's usually the encore, they play YYZ. I was thinking that was going to come up towards the end, but I guess thinking about it now that they're going from the newest stuff to the oldest stuff in like this theme, I guess it makes sense. But yeah, there's a little bit of me at the end. I was like, the lights came up in the cinema. I was like, no YYZ. Like,
yeah, and they're playing in Toronto, so
yeah, I know. But then again, I think that might be part of the editing. They probably did play it on the R40 tour. I'll have to check. But
I don't know. They probably didn't then.
I know they did play it on the R40 tour. I just don't know whether or not they played it at that show.
I've got the set list for, and I think it was on there.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. Like, they probably didn't include it in the film, but they probably did play it at the gig, right?
We got to see it though. We saw it on the Time Machine tour when they played the entirety of Moving Pictures.
Oh, dude, I've seen it on.
Such a treat.
I saw it at Snakes and Arrows, Time Machine, and Clockwork Angels. So I'm
yeah,
fucking.
But I'm saying we saw it. We saw it in the context of seeing Moving Pictures as a whole.
Oh, for sure. Oh, yeah, cool. Yeah, because they played Moving Pictures in its entirety. We then had Cygnus X1, the story so far. I hope you don't mind. I'm going to indulge a bit. I do want to talk about Neil Peart's drum solo. It's one of the main events. The story so far, holy fucking shit. I think with Neil's solos over the years, certainly since Rush in Rio, it has certain themes that we're used to, like when he switches to the electronic marimba, I think is what they call it. Obviously, we didn't have a twist of the drum kit when it goes to the other side because we didn't have electronics on this tour. But again, not to get soppy, but on a personal note, being a drummer, this guy is my hero. To see his final ever recorded drum solo on screen, like it was like half between like I was at the beginning of the show where I'm like yes, and then partly it's like bittersweet. But it was just to see the mastery of such an influential drummer, and seeing him play that final solo, it's like the end of a chapter. But
he was amazing though. Like it was still a flawless performance.
There are many amazing drummers for different reasons, but Neil Peart when you listen to him, that this is a guy. Holy fucking shit! This guy influenced so many generations of drummers. Like Taylor Hawkins talks about it in the thing. There will never be another guy like that again. And watching this solo, made me feel like that 13-year-old boy who saw that for the first time on the Russian Rio DVD. And you know what? I can't even put it into words. I'm sorry. I know that's disappointing. I can't put it into words. But I watched that and I thought, again, I felt like that 13-year-old kid again. And it is and not to be grandiose, but it is an honor to have seen that in the cinema on that day as a one-time only thing. Yeah. Sorry, I'm getting a bit emotional on this, but it
definitely has a different feel to then just watching it on a DVD or a YouTube video.
Yeah,
I think. Yeah, it was definitely great. It's just this. It's even me who's not a drummer. You can't help but not admire. You can
appreciate the, again, I use the word mastery. You can appreciate the mastery of what he's doing, even if you're not a drummer. You can. He always composed his drum solos rather like a composer would compose a piece of music, if you see what I'm saying. So you had Mozart would compose an opera. He would compose his drum solos like a big piece of music with different themes, with different movements, with things like that. I guess what I'm trying to say is you know a Neil Peart solo when you hear it or when you watch it, regardless of whether or not you understand drums. And I think that was, I think that is true in all of Russia's music. You know you're listening to Neil Peart, and as a drummer to be that recognized, to have that stamp, that personal stamp on that is a very difficult thing to do. But he was one of the original guys, man. And fuck, it's Neil fucking Peart, dude. No one will ever do that again.
I did like the alternative of what they did, because usually he'd play like a brass band with the pads.
Yes.
And this time he was playing Rush.
Yes.
So you could hear them being,
yeah.
And it was a great way to bring them back on stage. That was such a great transition.
Yes, they
transitioned
into the rest of the piece very well as well. I'm gonna stop being sloppy now.
Oh yeah,
but this is the part in which the three little dwarves from the Clockwork Angels tour videos came in, and again, I was like, holy shit, this is actually the interlude. I need to run to the loop, but I came in halfway through Closer to the Heart, so I missed the beginning.
Yeah, they're Close to the Heart's like one of their first big hits, wasn't it?
Yeah.
For the radio.
Yeah.
And
apart from the first album, certainly.
Yeah, well, it did the numbers. It got lots of radio play, so it got a lot of attention. It's a great song. They had to have played that.
I need to ask you this, because obviously the next track is Xanadu. Did anybody in your cinema stand up and just go Xanadu?
No one stood up, but there was like a choir of Xanadu.
You can't not stand up and scream that fucking line, man, though.
Well, you're in a theatre. We're in a little poxy cinema.
Doesn't fucking matter. It's fucking Xanadu, man. You stand up and you go Xanadu. You've got to do that. Come on.
No, I was polite. I was sat down doing it.
Oh, man. 2112 is the next one. Like I said earlier, I loved how it was a bit of a medley of all the heavier bits of 2112. And like I said, by the end was like, attention all planets of the Solar Federation. I'm just there going, going fucking mental.
Yeah, I was slapping my thighs.
I nearly hit the fucking guy who was Paul, who was sat next to me. I was like, sorry, mate. Doesn't matter.
What, did you bring your sticks with you or something?
No, I wish I fucking did, actually. I tell you what, I was slapping my thighs so hard throughout this.
Oh no, you shouldn't have brought sticks.
No. I had bruises on my knees next day. Oh man, that was so joyous. It was so fucking joyous.
Yeah.
Especially, and we had the thing as, again, I know your cinema were a bunch of fucking wusses, but with our cinema, it was like, as soon as it's like, and the meek shall inherit the, everyone was like, and the meek shall inherit the earth. Oh man, everyone was jumping by the end. It was so, yeah. I'm getting a bit ahead of myself, perhaps, but the final three songs, that's back to the first album, like Lakeside Park Anthem, What You Are Doing, and then Working Man, which was interesting to me because obviously that's the album Neil didn't play on, and it was interesting,
but eventually played it for a long time.
But yeah, no, of course, but it was interesting because I'd never seen his interpretation of playing that. But Working Man as a finisher, fucking great, absolutely fucking great.
They did finish it on Clockwork, didn't they? They did like a reggae version of it.
I don't recall.
I can remember them doing like a reggae. I remember there being like a reggae version of Working Man at the end.
Oh, it was part of one of the cutscenes. I'm
was
pretty
it?
Sure, yeah, I'm pretty sure it was one of the cutscenes.
I remember seeing the Jamaican flag lights on the stage. So
I was probably too busy fucking air drumming, if I'm honest. But I do like how before the stuff from the first album, they had Eugene Levy come out, and it was like, you know, in Beyond the Light stage, they talk about how, you know, they played a lot of what they call Sadie Hawkins dances, like proms and stuff, and then you have Eugene Levy in the white, like John Travolta Saturday Night suit with the long hair. It's like, so we got a bunch of great guys coming up here. Their name is Rush, and it's that proper 60s, like.
Yeah,
some
cynical.
Some square guy who doesn't know who the fuck this band is, just going, well, we got a great bunch of young men here called Rush, Geddy, and Neil, and Alex, and they're gonna play some songs for us, ladies and gentlemen. I'm paraphrasing, obviously, but I was there. I was like, that's Eugene fucking Levy. But it was in keeping with this, you know.
Emily thought it was Geddy Lee. Yeah, I'm glad they picked stuff from like Caress of Steel, because that's one of the albums I always kind of overlook.
Yeah,
that was an album that didn't hit as hard as they wanted to, and I think it's still a great album.
And by 2112, they obviously, the record company was putting pressure on and saying you need to come up with a big one, right? And at 2112, as they say in the document in Beyond the Light stage, it's like, instead of caving in, they just said, look, we're going to do this our way, and they did it, and it paid off.
It's the most influential prog album of all time.
That's Rush, right? I mean, I've already given my review. 10 out of 10 Ps in a pod. This is hands down probably one of the best cinema experiences I've had in recent years. Were
there any songs that you wish they played now?
That's a good question, because I mean, like I said, when I got into Rush, it was I was 17. It was Snakes. No, yeah, I was 17. It was Snakes and Arrows, 2007. I would have loved to have at least heard maybe Far Cry. Also, actually, you know what? I didn't realize this before. There were no instrumentals on this. I mean, there was.
Oh, true, yeah.
There was a little bit with Alex, and there was Neil's solo, but there's always an instrumental on a Rush gig, right? Now that I think about it, that wasn't in there, but so I'm thinking Main Monkey Business or Malignant Narcissism, right? Because that's the album I got into first and foremost.
My favorite instrumental is Where's My Thing?
Yeah, or La Via Strangiato could be in keeping with the theme, but there's probably some 50-odd-year-old guy listening to this thinking, oh my god, you only got into this on Snakes. But you know, everyone gets into it at their own time. But
you never too late.
I guess I would have at least loved to have heard Far Cry. But that's personal to me, you know. What about you though? Like, what would you have liked to have heard?
Oh, let me have a look. Just to refresh my memory.
I mean, you've got 19 albums to choose from. 19, Ed, not 20. 19.
Well, they played Grand Designs on the Clockwork Angels tour, which was one of my favorites. I'm really glad they did it on that. maybe something like Half the World. I really like that one. That's from Test for Echo.
Mm.
And that's kind of a really fun kind of song.
It's always been interesting to me how you are more into their maybe late 80s, 90s stuff, and I'm more into
the 90s.
Either their 70s to 80s stuff, but also their later stuff. Those are my favorite eras, but yours is more the 90s stuff, which has always been interesting to me. But it's also a good thing because, like I said, I never really liked Roll the Bones until you pointed it out and told me why you like it, and then I started to appreciate it.
Yeah, it's just good. I definitely think they adapted to the times really well, and it works. Like even the 80s stuff with the Police influences and stuff like that. I think they did some really cool stuff.
Yeah,
it may not be for everyone, but I love it.
Yeah. Here's a big question though, Ed. How many peas in a pod?
Oh, I'd definitely give it.
It's got to be a 10. It's got to be a 10. It's fucking Rush, man. It's got to be a 10.
Okay, I'll give it a 10.
I will get a train to Sheffield and slap
I was going to. I was going to give it a high 9, but I'll give it a 10.
It's a fucking 10. Come on.
My only nitpick with me in the Sheffield screen in particular, and it reminds me why there are a certain demographic of prog fans, and they're the ones who just love the sound of their own voice. Because in the very right corner of the Sheffield one, if they're listening, shame on you, because they just talked throughout the whole thing.
You got to be fucking kidding me, really?
Yeah, they talked for the whole thing, but it was loud enough to just be like a murmur in the corner.
It's just that little, and it's like a bug flying past your ear.
So I knew they were talking. I couldn't hear what they were saying, but they just talked for the whole thing, like they were like they're on their sofa watching a DVD. And
I can't fucking stand people like that, man. I really can't. I'm sorry to get negative here, but yeah, fuck those guys.
I was gonna talk to them, but Emily was paranoid that I'd get beaten up, so I kind of said thanks for the commentary, and then they went.
But we're not rating.
But that's nothing to do with the Rush.
I was gonna say we're not rating people at the cinema. We're rating the actual.
Oh yeah, no.
Itself.
But it was still loud, so I could enjoy the music, and also it was a bit like being at a concert because there's always that knobhead that talks throughout the whole gig.
Yeah, well, there is that as well.
So yeah, it was.
So we both agreed that it's 10 peas in a pod.
Oh, absolutely! I would not have missed it, and I'd have regretted it if I had.
Yeah, exactly.
Highly.
I think it's worth saying as well. It was announced yesterday, so obviously we saw the Rush Cinema Strangiato director's cut, which was in 2021. It was only available on one date, and we're all pleased to say that as of October the 1st to the 10th, Cinema Strangiato director's cut is going to be available as a pay-to-release release, so you'll be able to find that online, pay your money to these guys, see it. We both highly recommend it. You'll be able to find out more information at rush.com. It's well worth the money. Find it, watch it, enjoy it in the comfort of your own home, and just fucking rock out, man. We cannot recommend this highly enough. Thank you so much for tuning in to this review of Cinema Strangiato. You can find us on Twitter at LPs in a pod. That's LPSINA pod. No, wait, hang on a minute. I fucked that one up, didn't I? LPSINA podcast. LPs in a podcast. You can find us on Instagram at the same handle. Again, that is LPs in a podcast. That's LPSINA PODCAST. I think I got that right, didn't I?
Don't ask me, I'm dyslexic.
It's nearly 10 o'clock, man. Come on.
Also, quickly, can I plug my Spotify playlist? Because I have a favorites of Rush.
Oh, have you got a follow-up playlist? Because we keep forgetting to...
not a follow-up, it's one I've made years ago. How old is it? It's from 2017.
To be fair, you've made me plenty of playlists, and they've always been good. So yeah, fire away.
It's all Rush. You can't go wrong.
Well, go on then.
Okay. I'm surprised you weren't gutted that your favourite song, I Think I'm Going Bald, wasn't on the track list.
Oh, go fuck yourself. If you're listening to this not on YouTube, yes, I am a bald man, okay? Like,
it sings to your very soul. It's beautiful.
Maybe when I was 27 and I haven't accepted it yet. Like,
Geddy's anger is so relatable on that track.
well, I mean, Neil wrote it, and he kind of did go bald, really. So,
and Geddy does look fantastic.
It sings to my heart. It sings to my heart. Nobody likes losing their hair. Anyway, go and fucking plug your fucking playlist. Go on.
Oh yeah, it's going to be linked in below, wherever we're going to link things.
Okay, so but in the description on YouTube and in the description on wherever you get your podcasts.
Enjoy. That's
us. You've been listening to LPs in a podcast. My name's Val.
My name's Eddie.
Bye.